Good morning and welcome to Rising. Thank you for tuning in. We have a fantastic show planned for you. Glad to have you here, Jessica.
It's good to be with you, Robby.
All right, let's get right to it. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are neck and neck across the United States and in battleground states, a new poll finds. Nearly 5 months out from the 2024 presidential election, a CBS News YouGov poll released last week found that Trump received 50% support nationally and Biden received 49% in the battleground states. 50% of likely voters went for Biden and 49% went for Trump. Now, this poll was conducted just days after Manhattan jury found Trump guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records. When asked if his conviction will impact their vote, 55% of likely voters said it is not a factor. Speaking at a rally in Nevada this weekend, Trump says he'll seek to end the taxation of income on tips, an appeal to service workers in the swing state. Let's watch.
When I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. We're not going to do it, and we're going to do that right away, first thing in office, because it's been a point of contention for years and years and years, and you do a great job of service, you take care of people, and I think it's going to be something that really is deserved.
Now, with the numbers so tight, Vice President Kamala Harris is heightening her own criticism of Trump. She said Donald Trump thinks he's above the law. This should be disqualifying for anyone who wants to be president of the United States.
The poll also found Biden ahead of Trump in a key voting group. 81% of black likely voters said they would support Biden, while 18% said they would support Trump. 54% of surveyed women also said they support Biden, while 45% support Trump. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has reached 15% or more in 3 national polls. A Vote Latino poll from last week found that when third parties are factored in, Biden is leading Trump among Latino voters 47-34, and RFK Jr. takes 12%. So that statement from Trump that tipped workers shouldn't have their tips taxed. As someone who worked as a bartender, paid my bills as a bartender for many years, a lot of bartenders are in the policy. And if the IRS is watching, allegedly, bartenders will commonly take their cash tips and they're unreported. And it's like this understanding between managers and staff at these tipped establishments that they're not paying taxes on tips. I know this doesn't outrage you, Robby, as a libertarian.
No, are you kidding?
You love this practice, but this is a very woke policy, right? He's like, the lowest wage workers are usually tipped workers, right? And he's like, you won't have to pay taxes on that income. That's very woke of him, which is in contradiction of his statement that he's going to end wokeness within his first 24 hours.
No. There is nothing. I mean, it's not in the category of wokeness or anti-wokeness. It's just, but it's good. I want taxes lower on everyone.
Are you saying woke is good, Robby? Wokeness
no, I didn't say that.
Policy?
This has nothing to do with woke. This is just a different thing. You know, everything is not woke or anti-woke. This is just good old-fashioned, smaller government, lowering our taxes. I know people, some people on the left unfairly criticize us right-leaning libertarian people, and I'm not saying you're one of these, of just wanting to lower the taxes of the wealthy. I don't just want to lower the taxes of the wealthy. I want to lower the taxes of everyone, including people who work for tips, people in the service industry. That's fine. I think the mechanism by which restaurant employees or bartenders, waiters make money is kind of confusing to everyone. Washington, D.C. recently just implemented a new minimum wage for tipped employees that some people like better. I know a lot of people actually don't like nearly as much because it's now impacting how people tip them, that kind of thing. So there should be, this whole mechanism for paying people is a little suspect. But anyway, yes, I want to tax people less and less and less, and that would make the most difference for people at the lower income distribution. I think that was probably very brilliant of Trump to say that. In Nevada would be a huge pickup for him if he won it in the upcoming election. There's one of the swing states he wants to win. I think that's a great appeal to the voters there.
It's interesting because I'm sure there are people in Nevada, because of how big service is in Vegas, the service industry.
Yeah.
There are definitely people that are making well beyond six figures, like $300,000 a year,
In
that
tips?
are tipped workers.
Really?
Think about strippers and
I'm gonna get a new
bartenders in
job.
Vegas, Robbie.
No,
That's
no.
what everyone told me when I was bartending. They're like, you go to Vegas for a year, you put a bunch of money away, you won't need to take out student loans. I didn't do that. Regrets. But I love the statement, good old fashioned. Obviously, they're.
Oh, if you're going
Instead
to
of
write
the-
down my misspeaks, this is not going to go
No,
very well.
it's not that I don't like it. It's that I do like it, Robbie, and I think we should use it more. But I do think that there's this division among the right and the left where, like, if a leftist is talking about economic policy and they're like, we need to fight for, disadvantaged groups, the lowest wage workers, need a fairer shake. It is labeled woke by a lot of people. And for some reason, when it's done on the right, it's not labeled woke. And I find that to be really interesting because it almost seems like an intentional division. If you ask any working class person, should you have to pay taxes on your tips? They're like, no, not with Jeff Bezos' margin that he's paying. We shouldn't be paying a higher margin than him. That's ridiculous. And it's just common sense policy. And I think it's intentionally, this good old fashioned American politics where they're telling us that we're on opposing sides when we're really not. But I do think that someone like Trump, who has these tax cuts that were passed under his presidency that he's well known for that are expiring in 2025 for a lot of middle class Americans, a lot of working class Americans, but he's keeping the permanent tax cuts for corporate profits. That was written into the legislation. So I think it's good he's addressing this and saying, like, yeah, I'm going to do something for working class people when I get into office because I'm relying on your votes. Although he did say in this same speech that if it would be suicide before Biden, right? We're all going to
We're all
ourselves.
going to drink the Kool-Aid if Biden is elected?
Seemingly so. So I
guess
don't know.
that's the escalation. If he already did the I actually won gambit.
Yeah.
So if he wants to up the ante, it's we all need to commit ritualistic suicide if Biden wins. Well, his point of view, and it's shared by a lot of people, is that we cannot take 4 more years of Biden. The polls show over and over again that people trust Trump more on the economy and immigration, the pivotal issues of our time. Trump is gaining with Latino voters and African American voters. Obviously, still Joe Biden, the Democrats get the vast majority of African American voters, but Trump is doing better with that group, with black men, than any other Republican in a very, 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 very long time. So it will be interesting to see. Obviously, it's this just small number of states that are going to decide the election. Nevada, where he was speaking, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. It's matters how the voters there are feeling. It matters, RFK Jr.'s rising numbers will matter as well if he's, taking from one or the other. Although it looks to me like he takes from some Biden voters and from some Trump voters, and from some people, or from libertarians, or some people who would not have voted or don't have any natural preference. But yeah, these kind of late in the campaign attempts to court groups like workers in Nevada, I think are very smart. And if the Biden campaign answer is just like, well, you can't vote for a convicted felon, someone who filled out a form wrong, this is just the most criminal action ever taken. I don't think that if you're a tipped worker who wants to keep more of your paycheck, I don't know that like the whole democracy is at stake because this guy had a campaign finance violation. I don't find that persuasive, but we will see.
I don't either, because a lot of politicians get away with doing exactly what Trump does, only they report it legally with the FEC. There are a lot of ways you can spend political money that you get from donors to your campaign, whether they're everyday people chipping in $5 or like very wealthy bundlers. How you spend that money, I think, matters, and how a lot of people tend to spend that money in unsavory ways. Lawsuits trying to silence people that want to drum up dirt from their past. That's so common, what he did there. And I think the polling that showed that if he had a felony, people wouldn't vote for him. People imagined a violent crime, that he would murder someone or do something in public that was terrible. They didn't imagine that it would be something like this. So yeah, I don't think it's going to affect him too much. But there's an interesting conversation around whether or not he can run right now. Can he run from Rikers? Can he pardon himself? But it's a state conviction, not a federal one. So there's questions about his power to pardon.
Well, we are Gonna move to Vegas and take advantage
gonna go
of this
become
new
bartenders.
policy. I think I'm gonna do a magic show, maybe stand-up comedy.
I can
think.
so see you doing a magic show. Thank you, Robby.
That's
very
gonna
nice
be
of you.
my career arc before long. More Rising right after this.